Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to MoveSG think tank session on what will the future of smart city mobility look like in the next 10 and 30 years' time. This event has been held in collaboration with Hamburg Invest. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today, especially the speakers, in taking your time to discuss futuristic topics that shape the next generation of smart cities and mobility for decades to come. We'll be talking about various different topics, the likes of mobility as a service, port and logistic technologies, urban air mobility, UAM, Hafen City, drone control center. And unfortunately, Dr. Kim will not be with us today due to unfortunate last minute arising. So before we kick off the event, I would like to just mention a few hygiene factors. So this event will be 1.5 hours long, and may I please ask all speakers to kindly adhere to the speaking time so that we have enough time at the end of the session for Q&A, which will take place at the last half an hour of this session. And audiences, please send your questions throughout the session at the Q&A section in Zoom. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Sascha, who is also an advisor on MoveSG Accelerator. Sascha is the head of project management office for the Intelligent Transport System projects of the city of Hamburg. He oversees ITS strategies and projects and monitors tech trends worldwide together with Hamburg's public transport provider. Before this, he developed holistic intermodal traffic management for the Port of Hamburg, which involve applying technologies to make the port's infrastructure more intelligent. We're excited to hear about his current project, Hamburg Takt, aiming to make Hamburg a 5-minute city where transportation are available within 5 minutes. Over to you, Sascha.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Weihun. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My pleasure to be the first in that exciting row of speakers, telling you a bit of what we are aiming for on why we are doing this by creating solutions for urban mobility. Next slide. We are going for the mobility transition, which means to reduce the private use of a car as far as possible. So we have a couple of strategic goals to going to there. We are calling this program Hamburg Sets the Pace. And the first one is that by 2030, let's call it in 10 years' time, even though it's only 8 years, that integrated public transport will offer not only urban rail, bus and ferry services, but also on-demand and sharing services that can be used in an integrated manner. So this is what we all know more or less as mobility as a service, as MaaS. So, okay, we are heading for this. The second goal might be a bit more interesting. This is the customer experience in integrated public transport is consistently positive. So that might be in Singapore, it's quite good. Hamburg is quite, but there is a way to this consistently positive feeling, and we're heading for this. That means comfort. That means to really enjoy your journey. And the third one, this is my absolute favor because it sounds a bit more like a vision, maybe a dream. And this integrated public transport is the most obvious mobility option in everyday life due to its attractiveness. And then you see that it's a way to really enjoying this. So if you're going from A to B, your first option is not the car like it is today. It's integrated public transport with all that is necessary for this. So Next slide. That means that there is a way to go. This is what we call the 5 minutes promise, Hamburg Takt. So it's that everybody has access to mobility service within 5 minutes. In the city center at daytime, it's 5 seconds, no doubt. But in 10 years' time, it also will be same thing in the suburbs. In the nighttime, wherever you are, whenever you are, if you want to go from A to B within 5 minutes, you will have the mobility option that you need. That means creating offer instead of playing according to demand. All the nighttime, all the daytime, all the year, there will be a mobility option for you. So more offer, tighter intervals enables mobility without a timetable. We won't need timetables in 10 years time, because you just call for a mobility option, you will get it. And that means an integrated offer with sharing and pooling providers. Public transport will be the backbone, of course, for the mass transport. Then for being more agile, offering this all the night time, all the day, and we need the cooperation with the private providers, with sharing services, hailing services, scooters, car, bicycles, all that. And the customer is definitely in the focus. And that will be barrier-free, efficient, intuitive. You want to like to use this, because this should be your first mobility option in 10 years' time. No more the car, because we want to get rid of the car without the stick. We're using the carrot to offering you a very, very good mobility system. Next slide. To going to there, that means to buy a lot more buses, building bus stops, bus lines, metro lines, to just increase our mobility offer. And since 2 years, we only buy emission-free buses. So this means we need new bus depots for charging, hydrogen, or with electric power. So we enable and orchestrating the urban mobility system. As mentioned, public transport is the backbone, and then first mile, last mile, or alternative transport systems like the sharing services, like maybe somewhere in a drone. That will definitely be early in Singapore or other cities, but we are ready for this. Car sharing services, bike sharing, hailing services. So there is a big family in the city of different mobility options. Next slide. And behind this, there is this, we just saw this switch system. So it's a mobility platform for one registration. You will get all the information you need. You will get your ticketing if you need, and you can open and use your sharing mobility option like the car. You don't need any other apps, you only need that. And you won't need actually an additional ticket, because we have then check-in, be out. So at the end of the day, you will get the cheapest ticket that you would have needed all the day. And let me introduce you to maybe interesting, innovative projects that we're currently running, because autonomous vehicles will be one of the enablers of these Hamburg Takt, of these 5 minutes promise. We'll have autonomous ferries, rails, metro, but also the road, of course. And Moja, which is a ride-hailing service here in the city, it's a Volkswagen daughter, announced that in 2025, so in 3 years' time, there will be an autonomous ride pooling service. We see this autonomous car here, and in 5 years they will start. In 5 years, in 3 years they will start. In 2026 there will be a driverless option of these hailing services in the normal traffic as you use it today, but then without a driver. And the way to there, next slide, to the autonomous cars, the autonomous services. In this year, Hamburg and Bay will launch the world's first and unique Telluride mobility service without a driver. So if you call a car, a hailing service, the car will arrive driverless. Then you enter the car and you will be driven to wherever you want to. This will start this year, and the driver is actually, this is not an autonomous fleet, it's driverless. So the driver is sitting somewhere in the back office and bringing you to wherever you want. And that means that we are much more agile in offering those services. So next slide, please. Talking about 30 years time, what will we see in 30 years time? That all mentioned the slides before is leading to 2030, so 10 years time, 30 years time. I really think we will explore the third dimension more than we do today. Of course, there are a couple of drones for this and that. I hope it won't look like this, but all the services will be, we will entering the third dimension. Go to the next slide, please. So talking about transport of goods, which we introduced last year with Volocopter in the port. We will talk maybe in 30 years time about people transport, and third dimension does not only mean the air, but also mean that we go underground. Of course, metro is already underground, but we are also talking about a loop for goods transport from the port in the city center, things like that. And let me add one more thing for the second dimension. For the second dimension, we're using, of course, roads, railroads, but I also mentioned waterways in the port, of course, but also transporting not only people by the ferries, but also goods for city logistics. We are introduced projects for this. So, but third dimension, this is when I'm talking about 3D mobility. And next slide, just in brief, it will be a digital world, multimodal, hope it's green, and three-dimensional. And then my next slide to stay in the 10 minutes exactly. I really think that Hamburg will stay as green as it is today, and you can see it here with waterways, with a lot of parks, all the woods, all the trees, third dimensional, and with an almost perfect mobility system that enables you agile mobility without your own car, using your own car. That's it. Thank you. Ready for questions after all the other presentations. Next one, Wayun.
Thank you very much, Sascha, for your presentation. Very ambitious and very exciting indeed.